Absolutely. So the grammar school at Leeds is a merger of two very historic schools in Leeds. So Leeds Grammar School, which was an all-boys school and was founded in 1552. I think perhaps the oldest institution in Leeds. And then Leeds Girls High School, which was founded in 1876. So the two schools merged in 2008 and came together on this site in Alwoodley Gates in North Leeds. And most recently we have welcomed our youngest students. So the Grammar School at Leeds, or GSAL as we call it, we welcome students from age 3 to 18, and we now, since 2020, when our youngest students from prep and pre-prep joined us up here on the Alwoodley site, we have in excess of 2,000 students here on site. So we are a one-to-one device school, particularly in the senior school. So from year 7 up to year 13, we give all our students laptops, which they use in lessons and they take to and from school. Students in the younger years, up in primary, they also use one-to-one devices depending on their age and stage, but they don't take theirs home. So for instance, year 5 and 6, they use one-to-one devices in their classrooms. Lower down, they will use them periodically, and they have those devices as well, whether those are iPads for our youngest or laptops for year 3 and 4. So in terms of our evolution with technology, I'd say our journey began in earnest. I mean, teachers have had laptops for some time, but in earnest with the students, our journey began in 2018 when we first trialled one-to-one devices with 3-year groups. Following on from the success of that, in autumn 2019, we rolled out one-to-one devices to all of the students in senior school. Simultaneously, we were starting to work with Microsoft and starting to use Teams and OneNote. Personally, I've used OneNote for many years as an administrative tool, in my former role as head of maths. But as a teaching tool, it's absolutely wonderful as well, and has huge organisational and teaching and learning qualities and features. So simultaneously to that one-to-one device rollout in 2019, we also started to use Teams and OneNote in quite an evolutionary way initially. Little did we know that March 2020 was going to hit, and COVID. So really our rollout in the previous autumn was really fortuitous, and we were able to seamlessly shift really to online learning. Our online learning programme during that time was really successful, and that really gave us the impetus to push on from there, from the organisational learning that we'd acquired. Staff became really proficient in using devices, in collaborating, using technology for teaching and learning. So we have really just pushed on from there, and I guess looking at how we can make best use of features like Teams, OneNote. We're now using Insights, Grades, Reflect, Reading Progress as well, but other packages such as classroom.cloud have really supported our use of technology in the classroom. Yeah, and I think one of the things that for us, so you mentioned about technology being embedded into the fabric of the school. Technology, though, is very much a tool that we use for teaching and learning as appropriate. You know, we don't see it as a silver bullet or anything like that. You know, technology, I firmly believe, is only effective when it is used well, when staff training underpins that, when the infrastructure supports that. So that's very much our philosophy, and it's about using technology to enhance teaching and learning, but also to prepare our students for their future outside, you know, beyond school, giving them those future ready skills, but also that excitement and enthusiasm as they become lifelong learners. So for us, classroom.cloud, the really key thing with that is whilst we see all of the potential and the good things that technology offers us, we are also mindful that the internet is not always a safe place for our young people, that we as a school, given that we do provide our students with really powerful technology to support their teaching and learning, we also have a really fundamental responsibility to ensure that they are using that technology responsibly. And that comes into the filtering side of things, but also the monitoring, which is so important in the classroom environment. And Classroom Cloud, it's sort of a two-pronged attack, if you like. It has the teaching and learning features which enhance the learning in the classroom. I have absolutely no doubt about that. But it also offers us that monitoring, that peace of mind. And for me, it's security for the students. They come in, they know what they need to be getting on with, and they aren't then tempted to drift off task, to even check their emails or go on a website that they shouldn't be on. They know what they need to be doing, and they have the security and support to get on with their learning in the classroom environment. So that, I think, for us is why it's a game changer and why we're so fond of it. So the reason why we decided to move forward with classroom.cloud, given that there are a lot of other products on the market, it's fundamentally about the ease of use. All of the research around technology and use of technology, staff buy-in is so important. Staff training is so important, but ease of use, that's the thing that gets staff on board and confident in its use, because you always have a range of a bit of a spectrum in terms of how staff feel about technology. You have your early adopters and you have that sort of fear factor on the other side. So Classroom Cloud, it is intuitive to use. I was able to roll out online training sessions for staff, 15-20 minutes, to explore the useful features, to show staff what it did, and immediately then they were up and running with it. The other thing that I did was launch it to students, because I think it's important that they understand why we're using it, so that they engage with it. It's not about Big Brother is watching you, it's about we're here to support your teaching and learning, and we're here to make sure that you have every opportunity to focus on the task in hand. So classroom.cloud ticked those boxes for us. In terms of ease of use, we use Teams, and it fully integrates with Teams, so I can walk into a lesson, the students come in with their laptops, they are instantly connected. So the lesson starts straight away. There is no lag with students logging on or any time wasted. They come in, as soon as they're on the Wi-Fi, they're connected. So for us, that was a really, really important consideration. So in terms of getting people up and running with it, it was more straightforward even than I anticipated, because anytime you launch a new piece of technology, as we mentioned, you do your due diligence, you make sure that it is a product that is going to work in your environment, is going to work in your context, and then it's a case of launching it. Those communications are so important. So staff, once, as I say, I offered short training sessions to staff, and once they could see the features that it offered, how easy it was to use, they were able to try it out for themselves. So really, they ran with it after that point. But again, it's ongoing communication with staff to make sure that they're comfortable getting that feedback. If there's anything that isn't quite working as it should, we try and resolve that straight away, because with classroom.cloud, as with any piece of technology, it is about that momentum, making sure that it works for people, they're able to use it in their day-to-day teaching, and that has very much been our experience with classroom.cloud. I think certainly the feedback we have had, we haven't yet, in terms of the impact that it's having, we haven't yet garnered feedback from the students, and I think that's probably our next step. But equally, the students are comfortable with it. They don't complain about it. They are now used to seeing it. And my message to the staff from the outset was very much, we all need to be on board with this, because if the students are used to it, they expect it in every lesson, it becomes part of the fabric of their lessons. And I would say that's very much the point that we are getting to, where it is the expectation of the students that Classroom Cloud is on their device, that the teacher will be supporting them, but also monitoring their technology use in lessons. And again, one of the lovely features about it is the ability to sort of monitor their access to the internet and have those. You can quickly launch a particular website. So in maths, I'm a maths teacher, and I guess we use a relatively limited number of maths websites. So I have those as my favourites. I can click on one of those websites and launch it immediately to the class. So you're not, again, wasting any time with logins and things. But also, you can be sure we have the ability to block all access. So if you have a lesson and the students aren't needing to be on the web, you can block access straight away. You can have your approved websites. And if you want them to do some general research, because obviously we have filtering in place in school and they're doing a broader piece of research, you can unblock everything. So it's very much at the control of the teacher to support the students in their learning. So again, that's one of those features that we really like. In terms of how Classroom Cloud supports pedagogy in the classroom, again, I feel that's twofold, because I think it encourages focus, it encourages concentration, it encourages self-regulation in the classroom, because they have their device and Classroom Cloud is working on that, and the teacher can support and monitor. But again, the ability for the teacher to see what the students are doing and to adapt their teaching, responsive teaching. They can immediately, I think we saw it earlier today in the French lesson that we observed, where the teacher was able to see all the screens at the same time and was able to feed back immediately to students on particular things they'd done very well, but equally little corrections that they might need to make. And again, that wasn't just to the benefit of that one student, that's to the benefit of the whole class. So the responsive teaching opportunities there are really important. Again, the sharing screen, because you can talk through, whilst we have our large display screens and so on, there is also something to be said for being able to share that screen and talk the students through what you're doing. So I've been able to do that with my Year 13 students with the extended project qualification, where I've been able to model. They can see a particular form that they're supposed to complete as part of their project, and I can model to them how they would do that. So again, from a pedagogy modelling point of view, really useful. There's the little polling opportunities on there, so you get that immediate feedback, assessment for learning. So many different opportunities that the teacher can use as is appropriate to their lesson. They're not forced to use any of these at any given time. And again, that's why to me this is technology at its best, because it's technology to enhance and support learning. The teacher is in charge. If I was to meet with other colleagues to talk about technology, I think I would definitely bring up classroom.cloud and how happy we are with it and how well it's working for us in our context. I think for us, the integration with Teams has been so important, and I know there are other ways of integrating, so it isn't just that, but it supports us on our technology journey, because Teams is very much the vehicle that we use to teach through. So the fact that it just integrates so seamlessly with that is so important. I mean, we've been looking, obviously filtering and monitoring of technology has been, has been talked about for many years, but I think with keeping children safe in education, the September updates and the real emphasis on filtering and monitoring, and our responsibility as classroom teachers, as an organisation, to do our very, very best to make sure that our children are safe online. For me, classroom.cloud is a no-brainer. When the students are using their laptops in class, we can see what they're doing, we can support their learning, but we can ensure that they stay on task. And I think for parents, I think that's really reassuring. For us as staff, that's incredibly reassuring. And I think it's reassuring for the students as well. So I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it, simply for the features that it offers, for ease of use, and what it enables us to do in terms of protecting and supporting our young people. So I think Classroom Cloud is time saving and indeed reduces workload to some extent, and that's reducing workload by making us more effective. It's not just about reducing the workload. I think what we're able to do in the class becomes more effective because of it. So if I give an example, my Year 9 class yesterday, I'm in the class a minute, 2 minutes before. I have 3 screens that I can use, so I duplicate my laptop screen onto the large display monitor, which is interactive, and then I have Classroom Cloud on my my monitor on the desk. So I have my work, the OneNote, all of the resources and so on are duplicated from my laptop onto the screen, but simultaneously I can see what the students are doing. So that's all set up to start with. And then the time-saving element, it is about seeing what the students are doing in the moment and being able to respond to them and give them that AFL, give them those hints and tips, how to move forward. Obviously, I'm circulating in the class as well, so it isn't just solely about that, but to really be able to see all of their screens at once, to see what they're doing, to see what they're working on, and correcting any misconceptions. And that may not just be a misconception for that one student, it's something that's worthwhile explaining to the class as a whole. So from a teacher effectiveness perspective, it's been really, really useful for us. And I think to say that explicitly, the Classroom Cloud, I can mark things in real time. I mean, I'm still doing my marking, I'm still taking the students' books in, but I can provide that individualized and whole class feedback in the moment because I can see what they're doing. And that, yeah, it's not only is it time saving, but it increases our efficiency as teachers and effectiveness. I think if I had to sum up Classroom Cloud in 3 words, I would say excellent classroom technology.
So I'm James Shepherd, Assistant Head of Primary, and one of my key roles is I'm in charge of EdTech across the primary phase. So we find Classroom Cloud to be effective in the primary classroom, primarily from a monitoring point of view, so that the children, when they're on their devices, the teacher is able to see what they're looking at, because often their devices are turned away from the teacher, and when they're working independently we can see what they're doing on their screen, how they're using the devices. So that's useful from a safeguarding point of view, from particularly with the changes in keeping children safe in education, making sure we're monitoring and looking at what the children are doing and staying on task. Also, it's been useful, some of the tools on there, particularly the lock screen, we find really useful. So when the children, they're not so good at stopping working when we want them to, and they find laptops to be very tempting, so we find it very useful to just be able to lock their screens altogether and stop them from carrying on. We've also started experimenting a little bit more recently with the messaging, so that they can message the teacher and the teacher can message them. So sometimes some children who perhaps don't like asking for help out loud might find it a little bit more discreet that they can just put a message on. And I know some of our teachers have started also experimenting with the ability to share their screen onto the children's screen. So that's really useful for children who perhaps have got issues with their eyesight, and traditionally they would always have to be the ones at the front of the classroom, whereas now they don't have to be, because they can be anywhere in the classroom, but they can have what's on the board on their computer as well. So that's kind of in its early development and how we're using it, but it's certainly proven to be useful so far. So as I've sort of touched on, that lock screen's really useful, because as I say, it's just knowing that you've got their attention, and the messaging just between teacher and pupil, because that can be for those children who are a little bit quieter, a little bit more shy. They can just drop a message saying, "Oh, I'm struggling a bit with this," or you can check in with them. So that a few of our teachers have started using that. It's my intention to roll that out more widely, and because we're sort of drip feeding in at the minute. So those are the two that are really useful, and the share screen I think is going to be increasingly more useful for children as well. Well, I think if we look at that lock screen, if you're teaching a group of children, you need to make sure, however many children in the class, you've got their attention and that they're listening. And the way that we teach is that it used to be the old school, you did your beginning of a lesson where everyone listened to you, you then went and did your main activity, and then you came back to your plenary. But that's changed dramatically now, so that we teach by having lots of breaks in a lesson, checking in how children are doing, checking their understanding of topics. So it means that the teacher will stop the lesson, whereas it used to be once at the end for a plenary. It's now 4 or 5 times in a lesson the teacher might stop it and ask questions. And children can find that quite hard, because they want to be working and they want to be doing, if they're particularly engaged with a lesson, they can find it quite hard to suddenly go, "No, I'm not stopping." And for some reason, when they're using technology, they find it even harder, because they're always drawn back to the keyboard. But using that lock screen, that means that we can have those effective sort of mini plenaries and stop in the lesson lots and lots of times when we need to, and know that we've got the children's full attention, and know that they're not trying to sort of carry on their work. So that in itself is really useful, that we know that because it used to also be, we used to pull your laptop lid down to make sure you've got their attention, and then that's you losing time just logging back in and messing around with all that. Some child's laptop would restart. So actually it's just sped things up, made the whole process of those mini plenaries more efficient. And I think using the little messages between teacher and pupil, that allows sort of self-assessment as well, so that children can sit there, they're working, and they can identify, "I'm struggling here," and that they can have the confidence then to contact just the teacher. If the teacher's there, they can working with another group perhaps, but they can just drop a message saying, can I have some help? So that promotes the self-assessment that, again, in school we're very keen on. So in terms of using Classroom.cloud for some children with accessibility needs, we found that children who have issues with their sight traditionally have always had to sit right at the front of the classroom, and so that they can get closest to the board, and that might not be the best place for them, and actually they become more self-conscious of that as they get older, because they're always like, why am I at the front? And other children can often comment on it. And actually being able to move around, the way you'll see it when we go round, the way our classrooms are designed is they're not old school desks towards the front in primary. We've got very collaborative desks where children sit in all kinds of different ways. So actually having the ability to share what's on the teacher screen on the child's laptop means that that child can see much better than actually seeing it on the whiteboard anyway. But see it so that they can sit wherever, they can sit in the same place as every other child, and that's been quite a useful thing for us to use at the minute. So yeah, we're hoping to push that out further to every child, making it for every child, even if they haven't got sight issues anyway. So I'd say Classroom Cloud saves teacher time, particularly mini pockets of time, just by particularly that lock-in screen, that we're not having to stop and interrupt lessons just to say, can you take your hands off your keyboard, can you put your lid down, logging back in. So it just makes everything in the lesson just that little swifter, that little bit more efficient, because all the teacher has to do, click, lock screen, everyone's locked, quickly do whatever they're doing in part of their teacher input, unlock it, and the children are straight back on. So there's not that need for lifting lids, logging back in, and then something's gone wrong. So in terms of if that is just making the lessons a lot more efficient and run more smoothly, and the maximising teacher time. Would I be without Classroom Cloud? No, having used it now and seen the benefits that we have. So we rolled it out in year 5 and 6 to start off with, because they've got one-to-one devices. We've seen the benefit of it being in year 5 to 6. We're now rolling it out to year 3 and 4 with their laptops, and then in the next few weeks rolling it out to from EYFS up on iPads. So since we've seen the benefits in the classroom, we've rolled it out further than we're planning on. So yeah, we find it very, very useful.
So my name is Jason Charles. I'm the network manager at the grammar school at Leeds. So we shifted from the original NetSupport product, which was meant for a more fixed PC environment, and as we moved into a one-to-one device, it didn't suit us. We were advised very, very well by NetSupport, and we moved to their Classroom Cloud product. The deployment was simple. It was a simple client that went out via RSCCM. We deployed it across the entire school, and within a day or two we were fully up and running. So the maintenance is actually really easy. The portal gives you a lot of options in terms of the licensing and the connected devices. You can very, very easily see which ones are not known, which ones are connected, which ones are in the right groups. And it's kind of like one of those things that you just keep an eye on. Every so often I'll go in, I might clear out some clients that have not connected for a while. So for example, we refresh our PCs on a 3-year recycle. So every year we tend to have a number of PCs that come back to us that would have had the Classroom client on them. And then we hand out a load of new PCs that have the new client on them. Getting rid of the old clients was a piece of cake. It was simply a case of filtering devices that had not connected within a certain time frame and then bulk deleting them, and they were gone. Obviously we'd then refresh those laptops so they no longer had the client on them, and we were able to pass them on to our recycling or redeploy them in a different area of the school. Really, really easy. Classroom Cloud is really robust. It doesn't cause a catastrophe when you kick out clients. The clients themselves, once they're off the actual central cloud, if they reconnect to it, they'll re-add themselves, they'll pick up a license if one is available. You can very, very easily see which device, which clients are licensed and which clients aren't licensed. And it's just a case of just keeping an eye on it. Most of the time the teachers will self-report a problem in that a particular student will be in their class but disconnected. So it's really easy to go in there and just basically add them into the right group, and voila, they're back in Classroom Cloud and on the go. So it's incredibly robust. I mean, in terms of network management, the control of it is very easy. With it being a portal-based product, I don't have to do a great deal. I log onto the portal, continue with Microsoft, I'm straight in there with single sign-on, and then everything I need to do is at the click of a mouse. There's no logging into different servers, so that might be where, in terms of that management, yeah, that sounds right. In terms of network management, I find Classroom Cloud really, really easy. The online portal, I can single sign on with Microsoft. I'm in there, everything's at the click of a mouse button. There's no signing on to servers remotely. There's no global administrator issues. I can very, very quickly log into Classroom Cloud, look at what a problem might be, a particular device is not connecting, or we've run out of licenses and we don't know why, and it's really resolvable. This goes back to my comment about how robust it is, because if there's an issue like your licenses have kind of exceeded the limit, it's very, very easy to clear out clients that are no longer connecting or no longer needed. So from a network management point of view, it's simple. Continue with Microsoft, you're in, organisation, sites, your particular site, and it would support multiple sites very, very well. We've got a primary school, but it's within our environs here. Originally it wasn't, it was at a different site, and it would have been so easy to set them up as two separate tenancies, and we could have managed them both very, very easily from a single cloud portal. Yeah, so in that respect, very, very easy. In terms of the split between primary and senior school, in primary, years 3 and 4, the laptops that they use are trolley based and remain within the school at all times. So in terms of safeguarding and privacy control, it wasn't too much of a concern because they're always on site. Therefore, when a student is using them, they're always connected to our network and always available for a teacher to monitor or see what they're up to. In terms of the senior school, that was different. We needed to make sure that out of hours, we weren't able to monitor their screens for privacy issues because they can use their school device for personal use as well. So it was the methodology for setting up the security for that was simple. It was a case of we were able to tie it to our particular SSID, so the student one-to-one Wi-Fi. If a device is not connected to that, then the device is not monitorable by a teacher. So in terms of safeguarding from a teacher observing what a student was doing out of hours, very, very simple. Probably less than a 10-minute process to actually lock into place. And there were a number of other methods we could have chosen to use, such as setting up all of our curriculum times, sign on, sign off when the school finishes. So I think it would probably suit a lot of different environments, and it was very, very simple. I've seen a number of products do a similar sort of thing. Classroom Cloud by far has been the easiest for us to set up. It's been one of the most robust in terms of just basically plug and play, connect, get on with the work. From a network management point of view, it's really, really simple, as I've previously said. It's robust. It's simple to set up. Updating the client, also very, very easy. We've been able to go from a slightly older client to a new one simply by pushing out the new client over the top of it. There's no one installing. Obviously, that's all been thought of from Classroom Cloud's point of view, because obviously the idea of uninstalling 2,000 clients and then attempting to reinstall over the top whilst we're in term is not something that would have been tenable. That's clearly been thought of, anticipated and solved. I could not recommend it more. We found it really, really useful. The teachers like it. We've had great uptake in terms of its usage, and we've managed to champion it across the site really, really well. Yeah, Classroom Cloud definitely saves me times. From an administrative point of view, I don't have to pay as much attention to it. I don't have to be logging into specific servers. It's a very, very quick sign-on process for me to get into my admin portal and manage a particular issue. In terms of teacher control and teacher management, I don't get as many calls as I've had with previous products and other products because it works. It just works very, very simply. And the way that we've managed to set it up in terms of our integration with Teams, we're a Microsoft school, so we teach everything via Microsoft Teams and OneNote, and the way that it links to those teams and integrates with them makes it very, very easy in terms of a particular device. It doesn't matter if a different student logs onto that device, it will still pick them up. So the actual client itself is on the device and connects to the cloud, but the signed in session is the one that links to the team, and it will move them around to the different classes that they need to be in at any given time. It's really, really good and very, very simple to use, and it definitely saves me time. Fantastic classroom management.
I use Classroom Cloud quite a lot in the classroom, usually every lesson, whenever the pupils are on their laptops and using them. I use it to monitor them, that's the main thing, and make sure that they're on task. It's very easy when they have the distractions of the internet and effectively the world at their fingertips. We don't want them sort of, alt-tabbing between things, so it's great for monitoring the pupils and making sure they're actually on task and what they're supposed to be doing. There's no particular feature which is math specific, but I think that's one of the strengths of Classroom Cloud is that I can use it if I'm covering another lesson, I can use it in maths. We can share that knowledge between other teachers about the best way to use it. I use it as more of a classroom management technique, classroom management tool, rather than a pedagogical tool specifically for my subject. Classroom Cloud has definitely helped with behaviour for learning in the classroom. It's very easy for pupils to become distracted. I can monitor them from the front, and I can also give them help as well without having to walk across the classroom, in which time 3 kids could flick over to the news or sports. I can see them from the front, I can help them from the front of the room while still monitoring the other pupils. So in terms of behaviour for learning, it really helps in terms of keeping pupils on track and focused on what they're supposed to be doing. Classroom Cloud definitely helps with pedagogy in the classroom. Being able to take over a pupil's screen, actually move my mouse around, click, highlight things, select things on their screen, it's just an immediate way of helping them that would be a bit trickier otherwise. I'd need to be over there, sort of leaning over them, jabbing my fingers at their screen to point at things, or showing on the main screen at the front, in which time the information I have on there that I want everyone to access is gone. So I can use it by taking over their screens, pointing, clicking things, filling in boxes myself. It's superb for that in terms of the interactivity that I wouldn't get in any other way, in fact. Another way that I use it in the classroom is by highlighting a pupil's work. I can project that onto the main screen for everybody. We can look through where somebody might have made a mistake, or maybe more appropriately, more fairly, where they've done something really good, and then you can share that with the rest of the class. That would be difficult to do without, especially with it being on a screen as well. If it was on paper, then maybe you could use a visualizer or hold it up to your camera, but that's all a lot more awkward than it is with Classroom Cloud, when you can just share their screen for everyone straight away. Classroom Cloud really helps with accessibility for pupils in the classrooms, being able to access the work, being able to put links across to them and them to open things up. But it's also really useful as well for the teacher if someone had limited mobility and they couldn't get around the classroom, or you have a small classroom, 32 pupils packed in, it's winter, they've got their bags everywhere, just getting around can be treacherous. With Classroom Cloud, we don't have to do that. I can sit at the front, I can help someone immediately with the work that's on their screen, and that can really help with any sort of mobility and accessibility issues a teacher might have. Classroom Cloud definitely saves time in the classroom. If a pupil can't get onto a website, or they're having a problem, something's not syncing, immediately I can just take over their screen and do it in a few seconds, rather than go over to them, which sort of breaks up the flow of the lesson, and rather than try and give them instructions as well, which it can be quite difficult for them to follow sometimes if it's IT, I can just do it for them, click, 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 and it's done. I find Classroom Cloud just invaluable in the classroom in terms of keeping the pupils on tracks. One of the ways that I use it is I will just project it onto the main screen. Pupils are very good at policing each other if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So if I project on the main screen, what everyone's screen is, there's not the fine details they can sort of, look or copy people from what they see on the main screen. But if somebody's flicked onto the sport or a different web page, you can guarantee one of their friends will rat them out for it. If I had to sum up Classroom Cloud in one sentence, I'd say invaluable for classroom management when pupils are using computers or laptops.